In a busy town, there lived a woman named Mama Hannah. She worked very hard cleaning toilets in a big hotel to take care of her only daughter, Sandra. But Sandra was not grateful. She hated that her mother was poor. When Mama Hannah came home smelling of cleaning supplies, Sandra would wrinkle her nose and say, "You stink." Mama Hannah's heart hurt when Sandra said these things. She had given up so much, working long hours, eating little, just so Sandra could go to a good school, wear clean clothes, and never go hungry. But Sandra didn't care. All Sandra thought about was how her rich friends had everything: nice phones, fancy trips, big houses. She was ashamed of her mother. She didn't want to be poor like her. She wanted money, nice things, and a life without struggle. One day, Sandra made a decision. She packed her bags and left. She left a note for Mama Hannah, saying, "I'm tired of living like this. I don't want a mother who cleans toilets. I deserve better." Sandra had found her father, a man who had left when she was a baby. Mama Hannah had always warned her about him, but Sandra didn't listen. When she met him, he seemed kind. He had a big house, expensive cars, and lots of money. He promised her a better life. Sandra moved in with him, thrilled to finally have everything she ever wanted. She ate big meals, wore designer clothes, and took pictures to show off online. New friends surrounded her, all because of her father's wealth. Meanwhile, Mama Hannah sat at home, crying as she read Sandra's note. She had given everything for her daughter, and now Sandra had left her for a man who had never cared before. But Mama Hannah still loved Sandra. She couldn't let her go so easily. One day, she went to the big house where Sandra now lived. When she arrived, the guards at the gate stared at her. She was dressed in old clothes, and they didn't want to let her in. "I'm here to see my daughter, Sandra," Mama Hannah said firmly. Just then, Sandra came outside. She looked different, wearing expensive clothes, her hair perfectly done. For a second, Mama Hannah felt happy to see her. "Sandra, my child," she said softly. Sandra's face twisted in anger. "What are you doing here?" she snapped. "Did you come to beg for money?" Mama Hannah's hand shook. "No, my child. I just came to see you. You belong with me, not here. Come home." Sandra laughed. "Home? To that tiny house that smells like cleaning soap? No, I refuse to live like you. If you like poverty, stay there, but I won't." Before Mama Hannah could speak, Sandra turned to the guards. "Throw her out." The guards hesitated, but Sandra yelled, "Do it." They grabbed Mama Hannah and pushed her away from the gate. Sandra shouted at her, "Never come back." Mama Hannah fell to the ground, tears streaming down her face. Her own daughter had thrown her out like trash. She walked home, her heart broken. She had lost everything, all because Sandra loved money more than her. Weeks passed, and Sandra enjoyed her rich life with her father. She wore expensive clothes, ate fancy food, and posted pictures online to show off. She thought she had everything she ever wanted. One evening, her father, Mr. Adebayo, told her, "Tonight, you're coming with me to an important meeting." He handed her a black dress. "Wear this. Look your best." Sandra was excited. She had never gone anywhere important with her father before. She quickly put on the dress, did her makeup, and got ready, feeling proud to be his daughter. They drove out of the city as the sun set. At first, Sandra didn't mind. She was too happy to care. But soon, the smooth roads turned into bumpy dirt paths. Tall trees surrounded them, and there were no street lights. The farther they went, the darker it got. "Daddy," Sandra asked nervously, "where are we going?" Mr. Adebayo didn't look at her. "Just a short trip. Trust me, you'll thank me later." Sandra's stomach twisted. Something felt wrong. Finally, they stopped in front of an old, lonely house in the middle of nowhere. No cars, no people, just silence and darkness. Sandra hesitated. "Daddy, I don't think we should be here." But Mr. Adebayo walked ahead without answering. "Come," he ordered. Scared but obedient, Sandra followed him inside. The moment she stepped in, her head spun. The room swayed like she was on a boat. Her legs wobbled, and she grabbed a chair to steady herself. "What's happening to me?" she slurred. Her father just watched as she collapsed into the chair. The last thing she saw was his cold, uncaring face before everything went black. When Sandra woke up, she was back in her bed at her father's house. Sunlight streamed through the windows. She sat up, confused. Was it a dream? She looked for the black dress she had worn, but it was gone. There was no sign of the trip, the old house, nothing. Shrugging it off, Sandra went about her day as usual, eating, taking pictures, enjoying her rich life. But that night, the nightmare started. In her dream, she was in a dark forest, digging the ground with her bare hands. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop. Her fingers bled, her back ached, but she kept digging like something was forcing her. When she woke up, her whole body was sore. Her hands felt stiff, as if she had really been digging all night. It's just stress, she told herself. But the next night, the same thing happened. Again and again, every night, digging, digging, digging. Then, one night, something terrifying happened. As she dug in her dream, the hole got deeper. Suddenly, a bony hand shot out from the dirt and grabbed her wrist. A voice hissed, "You are ours now." Sandra screamed and woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. Her wrist throbbed. When she looked, she saw a dark bruise, swollen and painful. Terrified, she rushed to the hospital. The doctor examined her. "It's just a minor sprain," he said. But Sandra knew better. Something was very, very wrong. Days passed, but Sandra's wrist only got worse. The swelling grew bigger, and the skin around it turned black and rotten. A terrible smell followed her everywhere. She tried covering it with perfume, but nothing could hide the stench. It clung to her clothes, her bed, even the air around her. Sandra went back to the hospital, begging for help. The doctors were shocked at how bad the wound had gotten. They ran tests and gave her medicine, but nothing worked. The rot kept spreading. People started avoiding her. Her rich friends, who once loved her for her money, stopped visiting. Even the maids held their noses when they had to be near her. One morning, her father called her into the living room. Sandra hid her rotting hand under a silk scarf, her whole body shaking. Mr. Adebayo sat in his chair, his face cold. "You can't stay here no more," he said. Sandra's heart dropped. "What?" "The smell is too much," he said, wrinkling his nose. "I won't let you turn my house into a graveyard." Tears rolled down Sandra's face. "Daddy, please," she begged, falling to her knees. But her father only looked at her with disgust. "Look at you, covered in flies. You're cursed. I won't let you ruin my life." Sandra screamed, "You did this to me. What did you do to me that night?" Her father didn't even flinch. He just called the guards. "Throw her out." Just like that, Sandra was dragged out of the mansion, the same place she had chosen over her mother. Now, she had nothing. Sandra stumbled through the streets, her head down. The awful smell made people step away. Children ran from her. No one helped. Finally, she went to the one place she had sworn never to return, her mother's house. Her hand shook as she knocked weakly on the door. A young man answered. "Who are you?" Sandra's voice cracked. "I'm looking for my mother, Mama Hannah." The man frowned. "She doesn't live here anymore." Sandra's legs gave out. She collapsed to the ground. Her mother was gone. The one person who would have taken her back, no matter what, was nowhere to be found. For the first time, Sandra realized the truth. She had traded gold for date. With nowhere to go, Sandra became a beggar. She wandered from street to street, starving, covered in flies. People whispered about her. "That's the cursed girl who betrayed her mother." Her designer clothes turned to rags. Her once beautiful skin was now covered in sores. One day, on her birthday, she couldn't take it anymore. She decided to end her suffering. She walked to a river, ready to drown herself. But there, she saw an old woman sitting by the water, crying. The woman had no legs. Her skin was covered in wounds. She was blind, her hair matted with date. Yet, despite her suffering, she was praying, "God, please don't let me die yet. I have nothing, but I still want to live." Sandra froze. This woman had nothing, no home, no family, no health, but she still begged for life. And here Sandra was, about to throw Hayes away. Tears filled Sandra's eyes. Sandra looked at her own hands. Seeing the rotten flesh and flies buzzing around her, she had been ready to throw herself into the river, thinking her life was worthless. But then she saw the blind woman, broken, suffering, yet still begging to live. Her knees gave way, and she fell to the ground, crying. The blind woman turned her head toward the sound. "Why are you crying?" she asked, her voice weak but kind. Sandra couldn't speak at first. Her heart ached, not just for herself, but for this stranger whose life were harder than Hayes. "I wanted to die," Sandra finally whispered. "I thought I had nothing left to live for." The woman let out a sad, bitter laugh. "You think suffering is the end? No, my child. The real curse is giving up. Life, no matter how painful, is still life." She reached out with her frail hands. "If I had your eyes and legs, I would crawl to the ends of the earth just to survive." Fresh tears filled Sandra's eyes. She had spent so long hating her life, drowning in regret, thinking she had hit rock bottom. But this woman, with no legs, no sight, covered in sores, still wanted to live. In that moment, Sandra realized how wrong she had been. She had cursed her mother for being poor. She had hated her for working hard just to feed her. She had abandoned the one person who truly loved her, all because she wanted money. And where did that leave her? Alone, rotting, thrown away like trash. But she was still alive. She still had a chance to make things right. Sandra crawled toward the blind woman and took her trembling hands. "I don't know your story," she said, crying. "But if you want to live, then so will I." Suddenly, Sandra gasped and woke up. She was drenched in sweat, her heart pounding. She looked around in confusion. She was in her mother's small house. Her bed, her room, the familiar smell of Mama Hannah's cooking in the air. "What?" Sandra whispered. She looked down at her hands. No rut, no smell, no flies. Just smooth, healthy skin. Had it all been a dream? A warning? Her whole body shook as she remembered everything. The rich father who abandoned her, the curse, the streets, the blind woman's words. It felt so real. The door creaked open, and Mama Hannah walked in, carrying a small bag of food from the market. She looked tired but smiled when she saw Sandra wake. "You up?" she said gently. "You were tossing all night. Are you okay, my child?" Sandra's lips trembled. This woman, the one she had hated for being poor, the one she had wanted to leave, was standing right in front of her, still loving her, still caring for her. Without thinking, Sandra dropped to her knees. "Mama!" She choked out, tears streaming down her face. "I was blind. I was ungrateful. I cursed you when all you ever did was love me." She grabbed her mother's hands and pressed them to her forehead. "I called you cursed, but I was the one who was cursed. I wanted well so badly, and in my dream, I lost you because of it." Mama Hannah's eyes widened. She pulled Sandra into a tight hug. "Oh, my child," she whispered, kissing her forehead. "You didn't lose me. You could never lose me." Sandra clung to her, crying harder. "I don't deserve you, Mama. But if you'll have me, I swear I'll never leave you again. I'll never hate you again." Mama Hannah held her close. "You have always been mine. I loved you from the moment you were born, and I will love you until my last breath." That day, Sandra made a promise to herself. She would never take her mother's love for granted again. She would never chase money over family. She would cherish Mama Hannah every single day. Because now she knew, true riches weren't in gold or big houses. They were in love, in sacrifice, in the arms of the people who would never abandon you. And from that day on, Sandra never forgot.